This podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Legend of the Bones. Following in the footsteps of giants, Legend of the Bones is a chimera. A mix of old-school tabletop RPG and dark fantasy storytelling. As its name might suggest, in Legend of the Bones the dice rule. There'll be no rerolls, no fudging the dice, no metacurrency. The roll of the bones will determine the character's destiny, and no one will be spared their fate. None shall escape the destiny of bone. Last time on Legend of the Bones. Having closed the rift at the heart of Penmalkeen, and in the process destroyed the Eye of Krevik, the companions found a stairway leading up from the vault. Sensing a way out, they began to climb the seemingly endless steps, until they eventually emerged into the night, and onto a natural shelf on the mountainside. Here, they discovered strange markings carved into the floor, and Valen determined that they were a map of the stars, leading him to conclude that it was some kind of observatory, built by the people of old. More worryingly, looking out into the valley below, there was no sign of a camp that would indicate that their guide, Hedrick, awaited them as promised. Weary from their ordeals, the companions decided to rest for the night, benefiting from much-needed healing. In the morning, the companions discussed their next course of action. Valen observed that with time against them, and the possibility that the Brethren of the Purifying Light had beaten them to it, there was no sense in trying to locate the final Hellstone, the Eye of Selethra. Instead, he suggested seeking a place called Inis Myton. The spirit of his master, Amos, had told him that it held the secret of how the hero, Derwin, defeated the tyrant Vortigern a millennia ago. Velen knew nothing of Inis Myton, but Taalien did, explaining that it was an island set amid a lake upon which stood Derwin's tomb. Resolved that Inis Myton was their destination, but with no way off the mountainside, the companions reluctantly prepared to travel back through Penmalkeen to its entrance. That was until Valen cast the spell Dragon's Breath, which filled the valley with an enchanted fog. The mage demonstrated the impossible by stepping off the shelf and onto the cloud, which miraculously supported his weight. One by one, the companions followed, with a new purpose to uncover the secrets of Inis Myton, in the hope that it offered a means to defeat the man who possessed the remaining Hellstones, Reynard of Harburg. Chapter 71, Part 1. Day 63. Late morning. Party status: Beric, 59 out of 61 hit points. Lena, 34 out of 39 hit points. Valen, 22 out of 22 hit points. Taalien, 24 out of 27 hit points. Eadith, 14 out of 14 hit points. Spells available: Valen has memorized Charm Animal, Push, Shield, Entangle, Soothe, Revive, Clairvoyance, Ignite, and Unseal. Taalien has memorized Resolve, Poetic Prose, Pitch, Imbue, and Lullaby. Eadith has memorized Flame, Sleep, Camouflage, and Knock. Lena can pray for 3 first-level miracles, 3 second-level miracles, 2 third-level miracles, 1 fourth-level miracle, and 1 fifth-level miracle. The cloud felt profoundly otherworldly beneath the companions' feet. It yielded like down to each cautious step, yet held fast all the same. Their boots sank into the fog, like stepping on pristine snow, leaving only faint impressions that quickly softened and vanished. And with every stride, The mist curled around their ankles, as though it were alive. Only Valen seemed unperturbed by the experience. As for the others, none of them dared to look down for long. Somewhere, far below, 200 feet at least, the surface of the lake waited in silence. Instead, they fixed their eyes upon the far side of the valley, where the faint outline of their destination beckoned, the high path that they had taken on their approach to Pen Malkin. The crossing felt both endless yet fleeting. When at last they reached the landfall of the path, boots met stone and soil once more, and a collective breath was released. Solid ground never felt so reassuring, and it could not have come too soon. Looking back across the valley towards Pen Malkin, they watched as the cloud thinned, and within a few minutes it had dispersed entirely, as though it had never been. Beric, who trusted the fog with the greatest reluctance, stared at Valen with new wonder.
I had no idea you possessed such power.
There was unmistakable awe in his voice, tinged with disbelief.
The power is not mine.
The mage's reply was calm, almost reverent.
It is that of the dragon. I merely roused her from her slumber.
Beric frowned, confusion clouding his features. Valen continued.
The dragon lives in all natural things. The mountains are her spine. The rivers are born from her tears. And the wind stirs from the beat of her great wings. She permeates the world, root, branch, and leaf. She is all about us.
His voice carried the quiet certainty of long-held belief.
Sometimes we mages draw upon the craft from within, channeling our own strength. But other times, with the right knowledge, we may call forth the dragon herself, in all her savage beauty.
Valen's expression held no pride, only humility.
That is what it means to possess the sight. It is a rare gift.
And also a curse.
Eadith's words were barely above a murmur, and edged with bitterness.
That is true.
Valen inclined his head, acknowledging her without argument.
These days, many folk fear us for our craft, and despise us for what they do not understand. But it was not always the case.
Well, I for one am grateful, Lena said, her voice clear in the morning air. We may have cleansed Pen Malkin of corruption, but I am glad to be free of it. They lingered no longer, turning their steps back through the sparse forest towards the once cursed vault. They hoped to find some sign of Hedrick, though none among them could claim any true skill in reading tracks. Sunlight filtered through the mixed canopy of birch, rowan and pine, dappling the root-laced ground in shifting patterns of gold. The air was alive with the chatter of small birds, and the whisper of wind through the needles and leaves. Dragonflies and damselflies skimmed the edge of the lake, their iridescent bodies glinting as they preyed upon the midges which danced frantically above the lake's surface. After the trials of the past 2 days, the serenity of the valley was a much-needed tonic. They had ventured just over halfway back to Pen Malkin when Beric slowed. Something had caught his eye. He tilted his chin towards the undergrowth, and without a word, the others followed as he stepped quietly from the path. There, nestled between the trunks of 2 fallen pines, lay the unmistakable signs of a camp. Trampled earth, scattered kindling, and the cold grey remnants of a fire, long since burnt out. Before I go any further, This is a level up episode for both Taalien and Canute. For Taalien, this is a little bittersweet, given that he lost a level back in episode 67. But regardless, our bard moves back up to level 7, rolling a d6 for new hit points. A 6! Well, that's a great start. Taalien's hit points increased to 33. Now, when Taalien lost his level, he did not suffer any stat decreases, so I'm not going to roll for stat increases this time around. However, Taalien will get a new second level spell, and rather than restore the spell he lost, I'm going to roll randomly against the 3 remaining available spells. Okay, that will be Rally. When cast, the bard's words and music emboldens allies within a 60-foot radius. For 1 turn, allies are immune to fear, including that caused by spells, and receive a +2 bonus to any morale checks. The bard must play for 3 rounds to invoke the spell, and the bard themselves do not receive the benefit. I'm very satisfied with that level up. Now, on to Canute, rolling a d8 for the warrior's new hit points. Whoa, an 8! Canute's hit points rise to 48. Let's see whether the Northman gets any ability score increases. Strength 3. Intelligence 4. Wisdom 4. Dexterity 1. Constitution 5. Close but not good enough. Last chance with Charisma. A 6! That will take Canute's Charisma to 16. I wonder, will that give him an additional bonus to reaction rolls? Let me just check the BX rules. Unfortunately not. Level 8 also does not bring any extra benefits as part of my homebrewed fighter class. Still, I'm not complaining. That was a very satisfying level up for both characters. Okay, so back to the matter at hand. Back in episode 70, I asked the Oracle if Hedrick was still waiting for the companions as promised. That result was a no but. That but suggests that there may be some clue as to what has happened to the Ranger. Time to let the Oracle provide a bit more context. Firstly, I want to know whether Hedrick is dead. A 1, that's a no and. Okay, so he's very much alive. So has he fled something? A 5, that's a straight yes. Was it some kind of monster? A 4, that's a yes but. Right, so is this monster still in the vicinity? A 1, that's a no and. Well, that is some relief. So finally, did Hedrick manage to leave the companions a sign or signal? A 2, that's a straight no. Well then, with no sign of Hedrick, the companions are now in the mountains without a guide. Whilst Taalien knows that Innis Myton lies to the west, it would be unwise for the companions to try and traverse the mountains unguided. I think their best option is to try and retrace their route back to Varfell, then head west from there. All being well, and providing they do not get lost, the journey back should take 3 days. On that basis, it's time to make some rolls for day 63. I've already established the weather, but what about losing direction? The BX rules state that there is a 2 in 6 chance of getting lost in the mountains. A 4. The party has 18 portions of food, but there is a 1 in 6 chance that they can forage enough to not break into their rations. A 1. That is good fortune, particularly given that with Eadith in their company, there is an extra mouth to feed. Stumble upon? A 19. Close but not good enough. Wandering encounter. A 1. An encounter is indicated. Rolling 3d6 against my mountain encounter table. A 15. Let's see. Oh, okay. There'll be 1d4 of these creatures. A 3. Well, this may explain what Hedrick fled from, and the nature of these creatures means that this encounter will occur during the hours of darkness. Finally, a simple high-low roll will determine whether the encounter occurs prior to or after the companions have taken to their beds. A low roll will indicate before they have retired. Okay then. Chapter 71, Part 2, Day 63, Afternoon. Party status. The party status is unchanged, except that Taalien now has 30 out of 33 hit points. The companions left the valley of Penmalkin behind, travelling back over the high path from which they had come. The day remained fine and clear, and by the afternoon the bright sunshine had chased away the last breath of the morning chill. Only a few puffy white clouds lingered, snared upon the mountain tops, clinging stubbornly to the towering sentinels like mistletoe on the bare arms of trees. Rounding the mountain, they descended once again into the valley beyond, eventually reaching the end of the path. Here they traversed the hulking boulders of jagged stone that marked the rockfall, and the place where they had covered the half-crushed body of Lowen. Recalling the route Hedrick had led them, they picked up the course of the small river, following its steady flow east as it meandered its way through the open moorland. The ground was thick with tussocks of grass and heather, its carpet painted in vivid hues of purple and violet that rippled gently in the breeze like a living tapestry. The companions said little, walking mostly in silence, each making their own sense of the past few days, and bearing the weight of what was yet to come. Beric's thoughts drifted to Canute. It had only been a week since they had parted ways, yet it felt far longer. He did not doubt the courage of his friends, nor their skill in a fight, but he missed the solid presence of the Northman at his side. He wondered where his cousin was now, and with the knowledge of his own trials heavy upon him, he silently prayed that Canute still lived. Beric knew not if Canute could find his father, a man he had never met, and had not even known existed until a few weeks ago. Raised by his Aunt Brona and Uncle Sigfirth, he had been led to believe that both his parents had died of plague when he was but a babe. He could not resent the lie. His aunt no doubt wished to shield him from the shame that came with being a bastard. But now, he carried too many questions. Questions about who he was, and the part of him that was Skarne. As the afternoon wore on, and slowly gave way to evening, the valley narrowed and grew wooded on either side of the river. Birch, rowan and goat willow clustered along the banks, mingling with the tall resin-scented trunks of pine. With easy access to fresh water and the promise of forage, the companions agreed to stop for the night. While the others gathered firewood, Valen collected fresh nettles and chickweed, and even managed to find an early crop of bolete mushrooms nestled at the base of a young birch. It was not long before the crisp mountain air was filled with the rich, earthy aroma of simmering broth. They were all grateful for the hot meal and the warmth of the fire. As the sky darkened into twilight, the first stars glimmered faintly overhead, prickling the dark with cold silver light. They sat close around the flames, while Taalien plucked softly at the strings of his harp, a new melody unfurling beneath his deft fingers. Taalien's otherworldly voice rose into the night sky. The runic tattoo upon his brow shone faintly with a pale blue light, while his usually light brown eyes had likewise changed, taking on a hue of deep emerald green. As the companions listened, the night, a time oft feared for its concealed dangers, suddenly felt safer and less ominous, their hearts emboldened. Taalien brought the short refrain to a close, the final notes disappearing into silence, like shadows in darkness, leaving only the soft burbling of the stream. Valen, sitting beside Lena, turned to look at the cleric. His eyes traced the pale skin of her neck, the gentle curve of her chin, and the fullness of her slightly parted lips. He longed to be alone with her, to feel her touch. She must have sensed his eyes upon her, for she turned to meet his gaze. She smiled, and then, as if reading his mind, reached down and gently squeezed his hand. The soft golden radiance surrounding her body shimmered faintly in the darkness, and Valen's thoughts returned to it. At first, he had believed the effect would fade, but there was no sign of the aura diminishing. They had not spoken of it before. Penmalkin had not been the place. But now...
What happened to you, Vina Harriet? Back in the library.
The mage's voice was soft, touched with wonder and concern. Lena's expression shifted, becoming serious yet serene. "In truth, I know not," she replied honestly. I felt the touch of the Nine in a way I never have before." Her words were earnest and filled with awe and humility.
How so?
Like they have left a fragment of themselves in me. I cannot explain it, other than to say that I feel them with a certainty beyond faith, as surely as I feel you here, now.
What was that?
Eadith's voice cut sharply through the night. The companions turned as one, following Eadith's gaze into the tree line to the north. Nothing.
What saw you?
Beric demanded, drawing Callus Cledder from its sheath as he rose to his feet. The waning gibbous moon shone bright in the cloudless night, casting long shadows from tree and boulder alike. Beric's eyes narrowed as he scanned the tree line, his grip instinctively tightening on Callus Cledder's hilt. A flicker of movement caught his attention, something dark flitting between the stretched shadows.
There!
He growled, but no sooner than he saw it, it was gone. He could hear the others breathing hard, fear growing among them, and he too felt that all too familiar knot tighten in his own stomach. Without warning, 3 black silhouettes burst forward, darting between the shadows with preternatural speed until they were forced into the open. They were hazy yet humanoid in shape, with elongated limbs, their long arms ending with talon-like fingers. Their heads were faceless, bearing neither eyes nor mouth, as though they were formed of nothing but living darkness. They moved with an eerie grace as they rushed forward, wispy tendrils of mist peeling away from their blackened forms. And within moments, the fiends were upon them. Entering combat. The companions had been stalked by a group of Sceadugenga, shadow walkers, malevolent entities formed of shadow and living darkness. It is said that they are not merely creatures, but manifestations of emotions, born from hate, fear, jealousy, and despair, and given shape. Legends whisper that they coalesce from places where evil sorcerers or hags have performed dark rituals, or in this case, the rift at Penmalkin, and the torment of souls lost to hell. Once formed, Sceadugenga walk abroad at night, sliding from shadow to shadow, seeking the living upon whom they vent the emotions which birth them. They do not roar, they do not speak, they consume. Sceadugenga are a custom 5-hit dice monster with an ascending armor class of 12. They get a +5 to hit, and each round they make 2 claw attacks, dealing 1d6 damage each. If both claw attacks hit the same target in one round, the Sceadugenga pins the victim's shadow to the ground with its own. The target is held fast, as if nailed to the earth by terror itself, unable to move or take physical actions. On the Sceadugenga's next turn, it automatically deals 2d6 points of damage as it eats the pinned shadow, the wounds appearing on the victim's body. The victim may attempt a save versus paralysis at the end of each round to break free. If the Sceadugenga is wounded while eating a shadow, the victim is released. In addition, upon being successfully hit, the Sceadugenga has a 3 in 6 chance to ignore all damage from mundane weapons by becoming one with the shadows, causing steel and wood alike to pass through empty darkness. However, it can never avoid damage from fire or magical weapons. Sceadugenga do have some specific weaknesses. Whilst not applicable for this encounter, Sceadugenga are instantly destroyed by direct sunlight. More relevant now is that magical light causes 2d6 points of burn damage each round, and reduces the Sceadugenga's morale to 6 while in its presence. With that in mind, I'll make a lore check for Taalien to see whether the bard recognises these creatures and recalls that weakness. A roll of 1 or 2 on a d6 will mean that he does. A 2! That is a stroke of luck, and could be crucial in the battle to come. Okay, the only thing left is to roll the Sceadugenga's hit points, rolling 5d8. 30! Whoa! That's well above the half min out. These shadows are potent and dangerous. Right then, let's get to it. Round 1. The Sceadugenga are not surprised, but will the party be? With this monster, there is a 3 in 6 chance that they will be. A 6. The party is not surprised. Spell intentions. Valen will attempt to cast Shield, while Eadith will attempt to cast Camouflage. Initiative. The Sceadugenga. A 3. The party. A 5. Valen will need a 17 or less for his casting roll. A 7 is a success.
Bithered, Hurst, Andayan, Ibi.
The mage's voice cuts through the air as he recites the incantation. A translucent barrier shimmers around his body like rippling water. Valen's armor class rises to 15. Eadith will need to roll a 15 or less for her casting roll. An 11. Eadith speaks aloud the arcane words. Her outline blurs, colours bleeding into one another, as her form becomes cloaked in the night-muted colours of stone and grass. Taalien, even as he knocks an arrow, feels a cold recognition settle in his gut.
"They are Sceadugenga!"
he exclaims, his voice sharp and urgent.
"They can be harmed by light!"
The bard looses the arrow at the advancing creatures. Taalien will need a 9 or more to hit. But with a 6, the Sceadugenga evade the missile, and it is swallowed by the night. Beric steps forward to meet the first creature head-on, Callous Cledder gleaming in the moonlight. The warrior needs just a 4 or more to hit. A 13, for a total of 4 damage. The enchanted blade bites into the Sceadugenga's arm. Black ichor sprays forth in a mist that evaporates before it can touch the ground. The creature recoils, its form rippling, but it makes no sound. Warhammer in hand, Lena brings her weapon down at the second creature. The cleric needs a 9 or more to hit. A 15 is enough, for a total of 4 points of damage. If the Sceadugenga passes a save versus death, it can ignore the damage. It needs to roll a 12 or more. A 1. Lena's warhammer slams into the creature's shoulder, the impact sending a great shudder through its shadowy mass. The wounded Sceadugenga facing Beric lashes out with its claws. It will need 12s or more on its 2 attacks. But with an 8 and a 4, its talons scrape impotently against Beric's shield. Sparks of darkness skitter away. The creature, harmed by Lena, retaliates. It will need to roll 13s or more to hit. An 8 and a 12. Lena twists aside just in time, one claw slicing the air where her head had been just a heartbeat earlier. The final Sceadugenga has a choice of Valen or Taalien as its target. A simple high-low roll will determine who it is. It's Valen. That makes sense. The mage has already stepped up beside Lena. With the mage's shield spell in effect, the Sceadugenga will need 10s or more to hit. A 16 and a 4. 4. Ouch! 6 points of damage, as the talon-like claw rakes down Valen's chest, tearing through cloth and flesh. Blood spills, dark and wet, as the mage staggers back with a gasp of pain. Round 2. Spell intentions. None. Initiative. The Sceadugenga. A 3. The party. A 6. Taalien shouts to Valen as he knocks another arrow.
"The Moonstone!"
He lets loose. But with a 6, his focus is split between aim and warning, causing his arrow to sail wide. Beric presses his attack. He swings again. A 6 is a hit for a total of 10 points of damage. Callous Clenna carves across the creature's chest. Black ichor mists and vanishes mid-air, but the Sceadugenga reels, its form unravelling for an instant. Lena, still low from her earlier dodge, brings her warhammer up in a brutal arc. A 10 is a hit for a total of 5 points of damage. As the steel head smashes into the creature's groin, the Sceadugenga once again has a 3 in 6 chance to ignore the damage. A 6. No. Though it makes no sound, the creature's posture collapses inward, recoiling from the blow. Eadith slips towards the Sceadugenga attacking Valen. The creature can make a save versus spell to notice her. It will need a 15 or more. At 18. Unseen by Eadith, the shadow's head tilts slightly. It knows. The mage will be a viable target next round. Meanwhile, Valen fumbles around his pouch. His fingers close around cool stone. A heartbeat later, he draws forth the enchanted moonstone. Its white light blossoms outward, like a sudden dawn, a beacon in the darkness. The Sceadugenga recoil violently. Their black forms blister, crack and smoke under the radiance. They automatically take 9, 10 and 9 points of damage respectively, with their morale dropping to 6. But still, they strike back. The Sceadugenga facing Beric lashes out again. But with a 9 and a 4, Beric easily deflects the attack with his shield. The creature fighting Lena lunges. A 19 and a 17! This is bad. Lena takes a total of... Oof! A maximum of 12 points of damage. Lena screams as both claws dig into her shoulders, shadow piercing flesh. The creature's darkness floods into her, and its shadow pins hers to the ground. The cleric must roll a 12 or more to save versus paralysis or be held. A 1! Lena freezes, eyes wide with terror, as the Sceadugenga's shadow begins to consume her own. The third Sceadugenga strikes once again at Valen. A 2 and a 12 for 4 points of damage. A claw slices into Valen's thigh. Oh! Blood pours freely now. The mage staggers, but he cannot forsake Lena. Both Lena and Valen are in real trouble. Can the companions prevail? Let's find out as we enter Round 3. Spell intentions. Valen will attempt to cast Push. Initiative. The Sceadugenga. A 3. The party. A 1. The Sceadugenga attacking Beric presses forward. A 5 and a 15 for just 1 point of damage. A shallow scratch opens up on Beric's forearm, but the warrior barely notices. The creature, feeding on Lena's shadow, devours it further for 6 points of damage. A ragged wound opens up on the cleric's neck. Her aura falters. She is in agony, but can neither resist nor scream. With Eadith now in striking distance, and Valen holding the moonstone that hurts it, the third Sceadugenga now has the option to switch targets. On a 1 to 3, it will continue its attack on Valen, but on a 4 to 6, it will switch to Eadith. A 4, it's Eadith. The Sceadugenga needs just 6s or more to hit. Oh no! Double 15s! The creature hurls itself at the young mage, claws wrapping around her waist, talons piercing deep. Eadith takes a total of 8 points of damage. But can she resist the paralysis? She will need to roll a 13 or more. A 7. This is bad. Eadith is paralysed and has just 6 hit points remaining. Valen will attempt to cast Push, but he has a choice. Does he try to save Lena or Eadith? If I were gaming this, the logical choice would be Eadith. She has the fewest hit points. But that is not realistic. Valen does not hesitate. He outstretches his hand to the Sceadugenga attacking Lena. The mage needs a 17 or less for his casting roll. A 15.
Bithed ihi forquitheri.
An invisible force slams into the creature. It is ripped from Lena, forcing it to release her shadow, and hurled back 4 yards. There is a 3 in 6 chance it will be knocked prone. A 2. The Sceadugenga crashes to the ground. It will miss its next turn. Lena is freed. She staggers, and Valen catches her in his arms. Taalien knocks another arrow and shoots at the creature on Eadith. But with a 4, his line of sight is blocked by Lena and Valen. Meanwhile, Beric knows he has to take his enemy down now, if he is to save Eadith. He roars and strikes. A 13 is hit for a total of 10 points of damage. That's enough. Callous Cledder cleaves to the creature's neck. Its faceless head separates in a spray of black ichor, and then the whole body dissolves into mist, gone in an instant. The remaining 2 Sceadugenga take 7 and 3 points of burn damage from the Moonstone, but it is small comfort. The companions have the upper hand, but if they do not win the next initiative, Eadith could well be killed. Round 4. Spell intentions. None. Initiative. The Sceadugenga. A 2. The party. A 6. Taalien finally gets a clear shot. A 10 is hit for 3 points of damage. But with a 3, the Sceadugenga melts into shadow, and the bard's arrow passes through harmlessly. Valen steadies Lena as the Moonstone burns the foul creatures for 7 and 7 points of damage. The body of the prone Sceadugenga suddenly dissipates entirely, misting away. Beric charges the last remaining Sceadugenga. An 11 is a hit for a total of 8 points of damage. Callous Cledder bites into the creature's back, black ichor sprays and vanishes. Lena pushes away from Valen, her warhammer raised. But with a 9, the toll of her wounds is too much and the strike falls wide. The Sceadugenga must now make a morale check. Remember, the Moonstone's light means it now only has a morale of 6. And a 6 is good enough for it to fight to the death. But now, Eadith will automatically take 2d6 points of damage. This is 50-50. If I roll a 7 or more, the mage will be killed. A 6! That was too close. Eadith is alive, but unconscious, and still in the Sceadugenga's grip. Round 5. The Sceadugenga has just 3 hit points remaining. It all comes down to this next initiative roll. Here we go. The Sceadugenga. A 2. The party. A 3. Valen steps forward, thrusting the Moonstone towards the creature of shadow. It takes 4 points of damage. That's enough. The Sceadugenga writhes as its black skin blisters and peels beneath the enchanted light. It releases Eadith, who collapses onto the cold earth. The creature's shadowy form flakes away, dissolving into mist, then nothing at all, as though it never existed. The battle is over. Thank you for listening to Legend of the Bones. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you like what you've heard, then please consider rating and reviewing the show in your podcatcher of choice. Not only do I love seeing the feedback, but it really does help the show to reach new listeners. As always, where would I be without my amazing cast of voice talent? Returning to the show, playing the role of Eadith, is Chloe Elliott. Chloe is an actor, singer, composer and content creator, as well as being a member of A Deck of Many Aces, an actual play D&D podcast. My sincere thanks to Chloe, whose links I'll put in the show notes. You could also help by liking or reposting new episode announcements, or by recommending the show online or to a friend. You really can't beat the power of word of mouth. Alternatively, if you would like to show your appreciation by buying me a metaphorical cup of tea, then I have a Ko-fi page at ko-fi.com/Legend of the Bones. Any donations will go towards the show's running costs. Finally, I'd love to know what you think of the show, and I do respond to every message I receive. So with that in mind, you can contact me on X at LegendBones, Blue Sky at LegendBones, Mastodon at LegendBones, at TTRPG-hangout.social, Instagram at Legend of the Bones, email at legendofthebones@gmail.com or go to legendofthebones.blogspot.com for show notes, house rules, character profiles, art, maps and more. Join me next time to find out what awaits our adventurers as the bones decide their fate. None shall escape the destiny of Bone.
Hi, I'm John from Tale of the Manticore.
Robin from Stories from the First Watch.
PJ from A Wasteland Story and the Solo Role Players podcast.
Simon from Legend of the Bones.
Brian Rideout from Swords Against Madness.
Carl from The Lone Adventurer.
And I'm Trevor from Your Story Will Be Different.
And with our solo role-playing audio,
Narrative,
Actual play,
drama powers combined,
we are the Solo Role Players Podcast Network.
Usually accustomed to delving the depths,
Scouring the desert,
surviving the wasteland,
or facing the dragon alone.
this time we have teamed up to bring you a curated collection
of the best,
highest quality,
Most dramatic,
and diciest
solo roleplay podcasts in the world.
there are dozens of us.
So if you're looking for your next solo role-playing adventure,
roll over to soloroleplayersnetwork.com.
Sample and subscribe to something that takes your fancy.
And discover your new favourite solo role-playing podcast.
See you there.